Okay, good evening, dear hearts, and welcome to another episode of the Inner Dance Show. And supporting us in a return to sacred flow this week is the phenomenal Julie Foubister. And Julie is the founder of Thriver Hive. She's a certified transformational coach, meaning and purpose practitioner, meditation and mindfulness teacher, resilience practitioner, cancer thriver, and writer of poems. She's passionate about supporting people in loving life and living it on their terms, despite the challenges, periods of darkness and fear, and regardless of how long we have left in this lifetime. Welcome to the show, Julie. It's absolutely wonderful that you're taking this time to chat with me this evening.
Oh,
Before we get started, I just want to say that I've had the pleasure of meeting Julie at one of the Heal Scotland's Goddess gatherings in Aberdeen. So we got to spend a little bit of time there. So it's just really lovely that I'm getting to know you a bit better in this context. Anyway, how are you today, Julie?
yeah, I'm really good. Thank you very much for having me, Caroline. It's brilliant. I'm super excited about this conversation.
Yeah, me.
And it was really lovely to meet you in Aberdeen. It was quite a profound experience, actually. So, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Anyway,
Mhm.
so Julie, maybe just to start off, because I didn't have the pleasure of being able to be there when you were holding space, but maybe you could just tell us a little bit about Thriver Hive and the sort of work that you do.
Yeah, yeah. So, Um, it's probably not a quick story, but really, Thriver Hive was brought about after I myself was diagnosed with cancer. And I kind of put all of the skills that I'd learned and my own experiences into setting up, basically support for other people who are going through that experience. So that's how it came about. But yes, the whole, I mean, from as long as I can remember, I have been on this path of sort of self-development, but it really came from a place of feeling broken and always wanting to try and fix something, and this feeling of not being enough or not belonging. So that kind of set me on this path, and I've picked up lots of different learnings and skills as I've gone along on that road.
Wow. So
Mm.
it sounds like you've been in service for a very long time, and I'm just how awesome for you to put to become the founder of Thriver Hive, considering your lived experience and wanting to offer support to others who are going through cancer as well.
hmm Yeah, I mean, it feels really good to be doing this work, and I work with anybody who is looking to make changes in their life and just love the life that they live, But quite a lot of my work is currently with people who have been diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, yeah. And
hmm
I'm curious about the sort of things that the sort of changes that people are maybe not aware of that they need to make or that yeah, talk me through that. Sorry,
hmm
I'm aware that my brain's not functioning quite as well as usual, so apologies for that.
Oh,
I feel a little bit babbled.
that's okay. Yeah, so I think, having gone through that experience myself, um, and well, firstly, having trained as a transformational coach, I kind of started to um, ask myself some pretty interesting questions, like, what does it mean to be me? Um, where and how has this identity come together? How has that come together?
Hmm.
And I realized in asking all these sort of questions is that, the identity that we've built really comes from the need to secure our own survival in the environment that we're living in.
Yes.
Um, and so I think when you get diagnosed with cancer or any other kind of life-threatening illness, that identity is no longer secure. The identity that we've built up. So that's a really scary place for people to be in. So a lot of the work I do is working through that with people. Um, and it's it's an interesting place to be. It depends on how you look at it, though. You can
Hmm.
take that and you can feel like a victim in all of that. And
Hmm.
then everything after that becomes almost like a contamination story, like
Okay.
this bad thing happened to me, and then from then on, everything else went downhill.
Yes.
Or we can take these sort of periods of turmoil and we can look at them in a different way and think, yes, that happened. So I'm not saying that getting cancer or anything like that or any life-changing event is a bundle of laughs. Of course it isn't. Um, but what can we take from that and how do we move forward?
Mm.
So what transformation is available to us in these periods of turmoil?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
So
guess what
mhm.
sorry, I think what I'm hearing is, like you say, there's something about how you face towards what's happening or turn away from it, and something
Yeah.
about, do you continue to hold on to an identity that's based in survivalism, or do
Mhm.
you take this as an opportunity and perhaps to find freedom from the old stories and the old ways of knowing
Yeah.
and being, to discover something new about yourself?
Yes, exactly. Um, when I trained as a transformational coach, I mean, that's really what I was looking for is that ability to help people explore their inner world of beliefs and assumptions
Mm.
and values and expectations in order to create really a greater possibility for ways of being in life. Um, that's why I went into it, but what I didn't realize is just how much it would help me when I was going through the training. And yeah, it really, really helped me sort of examine where I was holding on to a lot of these beliefs that were really holding me back. Um, so from going through that process and when I was diagnosed with cancer, I thought, well, so much of that helped me. So part of the program I put together for people was um, almost going through some of the things that I did in the transformational coaching training, um, and working on that with people. Yeah.
I always think it's beautiful when the practitioner is also holding sort of dual space for themselves as well. I just think
Mhm.
there's something about when you're holding space or when you're learning a new practice or art form, and you are also going through that same level of sort of deconstruction and transformation. And it sounds like that
Mhm.
thing, and how you've been able to really alchemize all of that learning to support yourself also when you were going through your own cancer.
Yeah, definitely. And I love how you said deconstruction there, because I started off saying that I'd been on this path of self-development, since I can remember. But it was really after that point when I started, when I was diagnosed with cancer and I started looking at identity and like who am
Mhm.
I really, that I realized that, this identity that I'd built had been put in place from early days, from our need to survive. But what existed before that? I existed before that identity was laid down. So what was that? And that's who I really am, not everything that I've added on. And so that was the start of my journey in deconstruction rather than development. So it's really a taking away rather than a, building or adding more layers.
Wonderful. I have to, I'm smiling broadly. I'm just smiling at this, the freedom that these questions and this way of working and being that you have has offered yourself to, who was I before
Mhm.
I told who I was? Who am I underneath all of the
Mhm.
layers and the restrictions and the difficult life experiences that have sort of I've adapted to?
Mhm.
It's a return, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a return, and the beautiful thing about working with people in this way all the time is that and as you know, it's a constant ebb and flow, isn't it? We're not always in that state of remembering all the time.
Mm.
And but when I'm working with people, it is a constant reminder for me also. So I'm always going through a journey with them too, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is great.
Wonderful.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
were you always a transformational coach? Was that something that you felt called to from a young age, or was it a journey yourself to actually get to the point where you realized this was the way, this was the path for you?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a journey, you know. I I started off in finance, which is really crazy when I look back at it. I think, oh my goodness, how did I end up in that? Because it's just so far away from who I am. But yeah, so I started off there and realized that I had put myself into a career that wasn't suited to me, and that was out of this need to need for validation to fit in, to belong, all of these things, but it wasn't who I was. So, you know, I didn't immediately go straight from that into transformational coaching. Again, there was some toing and froing, coming out of that, trying something else, and then going back to where I felt a little bit more secure. So I think what happened was due to a relationship that I had, it was quite an abusive relationship. Coming out of that really had me examining um, how I was being in the world, because I was constantly looking for validation outside of myself,
Hmm.
but realized that the work that needed to be done wasn't up to anybody else to provide me with the life that I wanted. It was really up to me. And so that's when I started reading everything that I could on sort of positive psychology and the science of happiness and all of these things is what I started with. And then I set up a thing called the Wee Happiness Project, which was um, having people nominate friends or family who were going through a really tough time, and that I would then send a gift that I'd made. It was like little origami flowers that I would make, and I would send them to the person anonymously, and just to try and um, make them feel a little bit or lift them in whatever situation they were in. So that's really how it started because people would then contact me online, um, sort of looking for some sort of support. And I felt a little bit not out of my depth. I felt quite happy talking to them, but I wasn't sure whether I had the correct skills. And I didn't know whether I would be saying something or doing something that could um, actually make the situation worse for them, because
Hmm.
I didn't want to talk about trauma or get into anything that I didn't feel comfortable speaking about with them. So that's when I started looking at what other training I could do, and then transformational coaching came into my awareness, and that felt really, really good to me. So that's how I ended up doing that.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and lucky for me, I did all that just yeah, before I was diagnosed with cancer, and it really helped me in that
Gosh.
moment.
What a journey so
Hmm.
far, Julie. And I guess
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing you say is that, even like your career in accountancy might have been sort of a false sense of identity. And again, a
Hmm.
survival mechanism to fit in and to do well. And then, you know, getting through the abusive relationship and then to be able to offer what a beautiful, how to be in service so beautifully, to send somebody anonymously some origami flowers or something that you've made from the heart. And
Hmm.
this, what a beautiful kind of almost like pay it forward service. I can just
Hmm.
imagine receiving something out of the blue. And in a way, what you're doing is really being that loving mirror that somebody's receiving such a beautiful gesture. And in a sense, validation, but acknowledgement and a witnessing of how amazing they are and that someone thinks highly enough of them to be able
Hmm.
to set this up. I
Yeah,
just,
I absolutely I loved doing that. It was really, yeah, I got so much out of it. And the reason I'd kind of started that at the time was the science behind random acts of kindness and
Yeah.
things, and how, yeah, we think it's maybe a little bit of a tick box exercise. It's nice to be nice, but when we're doing something like that, we get so much from it ourselves. And so it was a practice that I did for a while to kind of, yeah, get me out of that place that I was in at the time.
Hmm.
And it really did help me a lot doing that. So.
Yeah.
And I'm in the process. I've got so many things that I'm trying to work on at the moment, but I really want to resurrect that in a way, and I hope to name it in memory of my friend Laura. So it will be called a Laura Love rather than the Wee Happiness Project. So yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
So, so this is in a way Laura's legacy. These
Yeah. Hmm.
these acts of kindness that ripple out through the world.
Yes, that's the
Yeah.
intention. So. Hmm.
Wow. And that in and of itself is an act of love.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So do
Mhm.
you have a sense of when that will be starting?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. As you probably know, in this kind of line of work, when we're trying to um, be in service to others, that's what we want to do. We want to be in front of people. We want to be doing what it is that we are good at, and all the background stuff, like all the tech, all the getting things put together in the background takes a little bit longer. So yeah, I'm working on all these things just now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes. So still lots of cauldron pots on the stove at the moment.
Yes, that's right.
Wonderful.
Hmm.
So I'm curious what you spend most of your time doing at the moment. And I mean, obviously you've got all of these other things that are simmering away that they're working towards fruition. But is it your
Hmm.
transformational coaching that you're spending most of your time, or?
Yeah, so transformational coaching is probably the main thing. I'm a meditation and mindfulness teacher, and I'm the meaning and purpose practitioner, and all of those things, but they're kind of all combined under that sort of banner of coaching,
Yeah,
um yeah, so that's what I spend most of my time doing just now.
awesome.
And
I
yeah.
sorry, I've never been to a coach before. Could you maybe talk us through, like, if I was to show up just for a session,
Hmm.
what sort of things would you do you work on with people?
Well, being that it's transformational coaching, it's really looking at the whole person. It's a really holistic type approach. And so you may go to a coach where it's, performance coaching or something, and they're just trying to get you from A to B. But this is a real, yeah, like I said, it explores the individual's inner world. So we're looking to long lasting change rather than looking at any sort of quick fixes or anything like
Hmm.
that. But I use a lot of presence in my coaching. So if you came to me, there would be a lot of listening. Um, some people think that coaching is I go to this person and they're going to tell me what it is that I need to do.
Hmm.
And that is, to me, isn't coaching, that's sort of mentoring. So that's the difference. If you've got somebody who is a mentor, they've been there, done that, and they're going to show you the way.
Hmm.
But coaching is really about holding space for that person to explore, um, yeah, what's going on for them, what's holding them back, what beliefs have they got that um, no longer serve them, and how they can show up differently. And so, yeah, presence and listening is a massive part of that. And yeah, if you're not listening deeply, then you're really not connecting
Hmm.
with people, and that whole listening thing, like most people in conversation, they're listening just to then answer. they're listening to find out what they can say next, or when they can put their point across.
Yeah.
But when you really sit back and listen and give that person the space, then that allows them to go to places that they've maybe never really had an opportunity to go to before. And that's where it's so valuable, because if I sit and tell you um, what you should do, that possibly isn't going to resonate with you, you know. And people know they know on themselves the answers. It's just
Mm.
being able to get to those answers. Um, Transformational coaching is really about allowing them to tap into their own resources.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to figure out the way through. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like in many ways you're supporting people to remember and relearn how to listen to themselves.
Yes, definitely. I mean, for years, I just felt totally disconnected from myself and the world, you know.
Yes.
Um, so that's been a journey for me. And yeah, transformational coaching is that, it's allowing people to sort of reconnect to themselves and see what's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And a huge part of the work that I'm doing with people now is allowing and acceptance, and seeking out any resistance that they might be
Mm.
having to what is present.
Yes. Yeah. So
Hmm.
may I ask what might be some of the more common sort of beliefs or resistances that really sort of disrupt or block people from their true potential and from who they really are? Yeah, there's some quite
Yes.
common ones.
Hmm. I think one that one that I sort of had, and a lot of people have, is that there is this utopian situation that we're going to get to in our lives where there is no problems, issues, or pain, or it's we're all striving to get to this place. Um, and when we realize that there is no place like that, it's not that life is going to continue to be bad or anything like that. It's just that that's not what we're striving for. It's when we can let go of that, we realize that um, we, yeah, we're just sitting in what is and allowing what is to show up and not blocking it. So just that belief that life is somehow never going to throw us any curveballs um, is a huge one.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that shows up quite a lot actually. Um, and funnily enough, this working with people with cancer, the whole idea of death is a huge one.
Mm.
And I know people don't really believe that we're going to live forever, but it is something that is not examined or spoken about an awful lot.
No.
Yeah, and when we delve into that with people, it can really be transformative, in their thinking and the way that they show up,
Hmm.
and also for their healing. Um, so many people are gripping so tight and desperate, and shrinking their lives down to a
Hmm.
cancer diagnosis, shrinking their lives down to trying not to die rather than living the life that they love,
Yes. Yeah.
you know. So it's like sort of moving away from what they don't want rather than moving towards what they do want. And it's very different. It's a very different way of being.
Yeah.
There's a lot of constriction rather than, expansion.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's something about
Mhm.
relearning how to be in love with life, and how many of us
Mhm.
perhaps more scared to live.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So there's a lot that comes into the coaching space. A lot of, I suppose it's existential sort of
Yeah.
questions, isn't it? It's all, yeah.
Yes.
Um, hmm.
It's just beautiful that you're able to hold such deep space for people to be able to safely explore the beliefs around life and death
Hmm.
that, as you say, either support expansion and alchemy
Hmm.
or that create
Hmm.
contraction and restriction, and that people are just trying not to die.
Yes. Trying not to die, and this sort of belief that somehow it's a failure. It's like if I die young, I've failed somehow.
Yes, yes,
And there's no a good life is not necessarily a long life, and it's just changing that perception. Um, I may live till I'm 100 and be miserable, or I may have a short life that's filled with love and joy and um, all the things that I want to do. So it's not about the length of a life, it's more the quality.
absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Sounds like you have very moving conversations as part of your everyday.
Yeah, yeah, it's incredible. And, it is a privilege to be sitting with people in that space and at that time in their lives.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
And
It's a real
and and
privilege.
in and in our culture, we're so scared to talk about death.
Hmm.
It remains so hidden and so unspoken.
Yes. And it's, the death occurs all of the time,
Yeah.
everywhere there is death occurring. And I'm not, just talking about physical death, just
No.
the cycles of life, the cycles of the planet, the cycles of nature, um, our own cycles, down to the
Hmm.
cycles of the cells in our bodies, the circumstances in our lives,
Yeah. Yeah.
relationships, jobs, everything is going through a continuous cycle of birth and death.
Yes.
And it always reminds me of the hero's journey, and I always try and look at it in that way. We start
Mhm.
off in the ordinary world, and something comes into that. Either it's brought about by our own wishes and desires, or something just hits us, like a cancer diagnosis, and we're thrown into this world that we're not familiar with, and a battle commences, whether that's internally, externally, whatever. And as we work through that, we find ourselves in this new world. And the new world then becomes the ordinary world, and the cycle just starts over. Um, and I think, yeah, there's been a few times in my life where I have come back to what I thought was the same place.
Mhm.
And if we're talking about cycles, you might think of a circle, but I think of it as an upward spiral.
Mhm.
So if you imagine like a turret in a castle, and you're walking up that stairs, and every now and again there would be a window, looking out, and it'd be looking out into the same view, the same position. But as you're traveling up the stairs, you'd be silly to think, oh my goodness, here I am back here in the same place again. How
Yeah.
did I get here? Because it's the same view, but you're looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that's a really helpful image for people listening. That sense of
Hmm.
the sacred geometry of the spiral, and that actually it's not coming round full circle. It's actually there's been a shift, and
Yes.
there might be even a slightly different perspective from seeing something slightly higher up. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And each time we come back into what looks like a familiar cycle, it's
Hmm.
it's kind of taking what we learned in the last one and integrating it into the new. So there's always just, this integration of what we've learned. So there's nothing lost, and there's nothing that's been a waste of time or that's been bad. It's just all
Mm-hmm.
it's all for the taking, isn't it? It's just, and I suppose it depends on how you look at it. You can,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
again, how we look at ourselves, because I guess some of the words you're using, I'm sort of connecting with how some people might just really shame themselves, feeling bad
Mhm.
that there's failure or it shouldn't have happened if because I did it already and it, it
Yeah.
should be integrated by now. And yeah.
Mhm.
I'm also
Yeah.
really grateful to you for mentioning sort of the mini deaths that we have every day. You know, that every
Mhm.
leaving a room, one room to another is an ending and a beginning, and a breath is the in and the exhale, the life and the death, and
Yeah.
we're experiencing death,
Mhm.
rebirth. You know, for me, they're simultaneous. Every moment of our,
Mhm.
and yet so many of us hold our breaths. So many of us are gripping on because of fear of change and
Yeah.
transformation.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. It's like I said, it is just that constant ebb and flow, isn't it? Like, and yeah, the remembering and going back into that place where you're integrating and remembering, and yeah, it's just a constant in and out.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Mm.
it sounds like you work very creatively with the people that you support, and I really
Mhm.
appreciate you bringing the image in. I like to work with imagery as well. But do you find that
Mhm.
it's that you're offering things? They're talking, but there's also times for other sort of creative practice as well, like your mindfulness and
Mhm. Yeah, there's lots of time for them to sort of um find a way of expressing what's coming to mind, whether that's through imagery or, if they want to draw something or, whatever it might be. There's time for that too. But I'm a very visual person, and so I bring a lot of that into the coaching just to share
yes,
ideas or whatever's coming to mind, or
yeah,
just even reflecting back what they've said in an image. Um, for me, I find it allows for a slight, um, it feels like stepping back or a kind of almost disconnect from sometimes the rawness of the emotion that they're feeling.
hmm
Um, Being able to look at it in the visual way or, yeah, look at it in a slightly different way.
yes. It's really sort of
Hmm.
observer position or a witnessing, but through this
Yes.
function of the imagination.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so there's a lot of that, and I write poems, so there is that invitation too for people to express themselves in that way, or yeah, just
And I
whatever comes up for them.
and I can attest to your beautiful soulful poetry as well. And I know, did you say that you've been published? Did you tell me?
There's a book coming. My three of my poems were selected for a book. It's called Poetry for Coaches, and it'll be published towards the end of the year. So
That's exciting.
yeah, I know, I'm really, really pleased about that. It's good. But I am thinking about putting just a collection of all of them together and maybe looking at getting that published. So
Yeah.
yeah. I find it's a really good practice because sometimes when I'm writing, um, fully, I find that I get too involved with trying to explain everything correctly or in a way that will be understood by everybody. And so you kind of lose the essence of what you're trying to say sometimes. And I think poetry is brilliant in that way because you can say so much without really having to explain it.
Yes. Yes. There's something about the vibration and the frequency of the words chosen, but also what happens around the words and between the words that
Hmm.
I don't know. It transports us, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, I'm excited for what's to come with your writing and for us as
Hmm.
for readers as well. But I
Yeah.
know, I know that you'd, well, we talked earlier about maybe you suggesting that I do some sort of practice or some little
Mm.
exercise. I'm wondering if now might feel like a good time for you.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So I was just, I was talking on the subject of identity and how something comes into your life that's quite difficult to deal with. It can really, um, yeah, yeah, the identity that we've come to know can be broken down, and that's a really scary place for people to be. So this is just a little exercise that I do with people just to try and help them see something different about themselves. So I don't know if you've got a bit of paper there, Caroline.
I do have a bit
Um,
of paper and pen, and I encourage
Yay.
anyone who's listening now or in the future to also grab a quick paper and pen so that you can join in as well.
Yeah, great. So on that bit of paper, I just ask you to draw me a lovely, well, draw for you because I won't see it, but a lovely picture of a sky. So just whatever comes to mind. And just allow your mind to be free from trying to get it right and don't overthink it because it's not a test or anything. So you just draw your sky, and anybody that's listening, just do that. And it doesn't have to be a major masterpiece, just a quick scribble, really.
Hmm.
Yeah. So once you've drawn your sky,
Hmm.
you could just describe to me what you see in your sky.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I have I have a crescent
Mhm.
moon, and
Mhm.
I have some clouds and a star and possibly a raven, but a very big dark
Okay.
bird. That's as far as I got.
Ah, brilliant. Okay. So anybody listening might have something similar, or they might have clouds and rainbows or birds, whatever. Um, and obviously I'd asked you to draw the sky, but what you've drawn isn't actually the sky.
No.
And so what we do is we identify the sky by the things that we see in it. So the things that are moving through it, the ever-changing clouds, the weather, the birds, the sun, the rainbows, but that's not the sky. And we couldn't ever actually draw the sky.
No.
So in this exercise, basically you are the sky. Yet most of the time we're choosing to identify ourselves by all the stuff that's moving through,
Hmm.
the thoughts, the feelings, the experiences, the traumas, but they're not the sky. That's just the ever-changing weather. And if you think about it, weather can't break the sky. And the sky doesn't need to do anything with the weather. The weather really just changes and passes through all by itself. The sky can't ever be broken, and none of us can ever be broken. And I think, when I was younger, I believed that I was broken, and everything I did came from that place of being broken.
Yes.
But I could never be broken by my experiences. And so when we let go of this fear that somehow our experiences will break us, like what does that allow us to do? There's so much more we would do or allow ourselves to try if we didn't have that fear.
Yeah. That,
So that's just a wee exercise that I do just to sort of create that kind of expansion or that other view of what we really are.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm imagining that, if you asked me to do that tomorrow and I'm feeling
Mhm.
slightly better, it would be a different image I would create.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so that even the impermanence of what we're identifying with or attached to in that
Yes.
moment. Yeah.
Exactly. So everything is transitory. Everything is moving. It's like
Hmm.
the thoughts that we have, they come and go, and this is what I love about my mindfulness and meditation practice and things like that. It's just
Yeah.
being the observer.
Yes. Yeah.
rather than getting hooked into every single thought, every single experience that we have. Because if we do that, we're getting dragged along with that weather, you know. It's like also if you think about a stream, and the stream is all your thoughts, and you can choose to jump in that river and get swept away with all the thoughts, or you can sit on the riverbank and choose to observe them. So it's a very, very big difference.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. It reminds me of sort of in psychosynthesis.
Mm-hmm.
Sad Julia has a poem that people use in their meditations, but it goes along the lines of, "I have a body, I am not my body. I have thoughts, I am not
Mm-hmm.
my thoughts." So it's that sense of, identifying but not becoming over identified with.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like that's partly what you're sort of describing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that really helps when I'm working with people that have been diagnosed, because fear is such a massive part of that.
Sure. Yeah.
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 So looking at fear in a different way and just observing it and allowing it, allowing it to have its say, really, and it starts to
Yeah.
dissolve. Instead of gripping and holding it in place, it just,
Yes, because fear
yeah.
fear wants to transmute. That's certainly my experience in working with inner dance, which we shorten to ID as an identity, and death and fear are such huge parts of our sort of healing work. It's
Mm-hmm.
fear doesn't want to be frozen, it wants to transmute, it wants to alchemize into something else, but that
Mm-hmm.
we grip on and we freeze and we hold our breath and we resist
Yeah.
rather than
Yes.
cooperate with the innate authentic intelligence within these energy forces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's just such, yeah, and all the energy that is used
Mm,
in that gripping and holding in place. It reminds me of the beach ball exercise. I don't know if you've heard of that, but you can imagine what it feels like to hold a beach ball under the water, and say
uh,
the beach ball represents something difficult that's going on in your life. Say there's a few difficult things going on in your life right now. That's a few beach balls. You're holding, and you know that you're not going to be able to hold that forever. And the amount of effort and energy used. And what would happen if you just let those balls go and just let them float to the surface,
yes,
and just allow them to be there.
yes,
And that's it. It's not like we don't need to over analyze, over examine everything, or look at all the whys and the wheres and all of that and try and make sense of it all. We don't need to
mhm,
do that. um Simply just allow, and like you can just feel it in your body. The minute you think about that, it just frees up something. And when you're trying to heal, in the case of cancer or any other illness, all
yeah,
those little practices, or all those just points like that where you can let go of some of that,
yes, yes,
frees up your system to do the job it really wants to do. You know,
absolutely.
like, yeah.
So it's learning to sort of yield and cooperate. And I guess what I'm hearing
Mhm.
describing is that, energy flows where attention goes.
Mhm.
So if you're focusing, hyper focusing your attention on trying to control or grip onto things, it's a huge amount of
Mhm.
energy that your body's really needing
Yeah.
to heal, to rest, to recover.
Mhm. Yes. And the exactly, an immune system, when we're like in a state, in that kind of state, which is sort of like fight or flight, all of these things, the immune system isn't working properly.
Yes.
And we really, really need that to be working at its best. So anything that I can do with people to allow them to release some of that is helpful. And acceptance as well is a huge thing that I
Yeah.
work with people on, is because people, in my experience, mistake acceptance for resignation.
Yes.
And they're two very, very different things. So yeah, and I can't remember who said it, but it's like the curious paradox is that when I accept who I am, then I can change. You know, it's the
Yes.
same thing with healing. You know, it's like, um, you know, people will go on this fight and this battle with cancer, and this constant stress involved in fighting it. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, what if we were to accept where you are right now? You know, it's not as resignation. We're not resigning ourselves to being there forever, but that acceptance right now, what does that free up and what does it allow you to do?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And perhaps there's something culturally about how we react to the word surrender,
Mm-hmm.
and that
Yeah.
it's not defeat, but there is the white flag represents peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like you, well,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you know this intimately, but that you support people in all stages
Yeah.
of their cancer journey.
Yes. You know, right at the start, there's a lot of work going into finding all the information that they need, and you know, there's a lot of stress involved.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find, obviously, like I'm 4 years out now from the original diagnosis, and that first couple of years is just really all about, um, yeah, getting through that phase. And when you sort of come out the other side, you realize that actually it's not about trying to fix this and then going back to life the way it was. Life could never be the way that it was.
No.
And that's the opportunity, you see. But it also is tricky because once you've experienced that, it's never going to leave you. You know, you're never going to get to the point where you um, forget about it, or you don't, you know, you're never going to get lackadaisical about looking after yourself. And it's always going to be there in the back of your mind.
Yes.
So you find that people need a different kind of help at that stage as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all
Hmm.
these different stages of transition sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
This might be an intimate question, but I'm curious what you learned about yourself through your own process.
Um, gosh, like so much.
Yeah.
Um, I think what I learnt that has become the most useful thing for me is that not everything can be fixed in the mind. Not everything can be fixed just by thinking about it. So I was always right, let's just be positive, just get through it, let's just fix it, all of these things. And um I ignored my body a lot, and I
Okay.
didn't actually sit with what was. You know, I didn't. And it was really through going with that journey that I realized, you know what, you need to actually listen to your body, listen to what it's telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was the biggest transformation for me was just yeah, listen to myself and really sitting in the fear, sitting in the darkness, sitting in all of those things and
Yes.
seeing what it has to tell you, like what's there
Yeah.
for you, rather than trying to block or deny or yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a real experience and lesson and all of that. But I realized that, you know, I was um, very resilient and strong. I think I kind of knew that anyway, but yeah, you do learn a lot about yourself when you go through something like that.
Absolutely. So as you again, it comes back to identity, doesn't it? Maybe
Hmm.
discovering who you really are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it takes such courage to do this work, to
Hmm.
sit with the darkness, to befriend your fear, and to be a
Yeah.
companion to yourself in these ways, with or without an illness or something
Hmm.
tragic happening, but to learn how to
Hmm.
really be our own best friend.
Yes, that's it. And knowing that, the other thing was what I'm looking for is not out there, it's in here, it's in me.
Yeah.
Is
Always.
mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Gosh,
Mm.
I just get such a sense of how you are such a safe pair of hands, how you really hold people so they can hold themselves, you know. You,
Yeah.
yeah, I just honestly just get such a strong sense of you as a practitioner, Julie. It's really moving to hear how you describe your work.
Mm. It's I think because there's been so much kind of first-hand experience, I just
Yeah,
yeah, and yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just that knowing and sharing and yeah, some of the darker times.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
imagine that that must be so reassuring and helpful
Mm-hmm.
for the people that you're working with who are going through something similar, that you have the
Yeah.
lived experience, that you've gone through the darkness, and
Mm-hmm.
that you, yeah, you've come through.
Yeah. I mean, it's not always necessary for a great transformational coach to have that, but I think it definitely helps.
Yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the experience is, you know, just from a therapist point of view, there's something about being a guide. So
Mm-hmm.
having gone into the underworld many times and
Mm-hmm.
come back out, I know how to travel with other people in their underworld.
Yeah.
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 You know,
Hmm.
I'm aware of the time and that we're coming up to like the last 5 or so minutes on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just whilst acknowledging and sort of holding the conversation so far, and you've brought in so many useful and helpful sort of images and quotes and what informs and
Mm-hmm.
supports your practice. But I'm curious if you have a book that on any topic that you might recommend to our listeners, you know, something that's
Mm-hmm.
maybe inspired you in some way in your life.
Yeah. I think my favorite go-to recommendation is Eckhart Tolle, The
Yeah,
Power of Now. Like that book for me just really changed something in me like quite profoundly, and I'll never forget it. And I think I only read about two paragraphs of that book originally in it. And that was enough. It was like, wow, right,
yeah,
I totally see things in a different way now. Um, Such a great book. Just that, I think the thing that he says, the words of wisdom that kind of stuck with me from that book, in the bit that I read, was I have since read the whole book, but at that time I didn't feel like I needed to.
hmm,
Um, yeah, so the only time that exists is right now, the present moment. So the past and the future only really exist as a thought form in our
yeah,
minds. And that for me was just like, wow, look at where my brain is going all this time. It's going to all these different terrible outcomes and situations that don't even exist, you know,
no,
but my body is traveling and going through all of that because
yeah,
it doesn't know the difference between what my brain is saying and what's real right now. So I'm just
yes,
voluntarily putting myself through all of this stress. So it was just such a big game changer for me.
wow,
Yeah. And I think in healing and anybody who's going through a sort of cancer diagnosis, um, a book that I would really recommend. I know you only asked me for one, but um, the Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton.
oh, I'm reading that just now.
Are you? Oh gosh, brilliant!
Yes.
Another absolute, yeah, game changer, really. Hmm.
Okay. Wow. There are two very powerful book recommendations there. Thank you for that.
That's
And
okay.
just because for my own curiosity as well, but it might be helpful for whoever's listening. do you have a question that you could just drop in that us as listeners might take with us and then ponder on and reflect on? You know, a question about our identity that we could savor over.
Hmm. Not sure.
Sorry, I put you on the spot there, didn't I?
Yeah. No, it's okay. I think just that if you were living from a place of the sky rather than the weather, like what would that allow you to do
Okay.
in your life? You know, if you were sitting more in the sky rather than the weather.
Okay. So living as the sky rather than the weather.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful.
Hmm.
I'm going to take some time with that this week.
Okay.
Definitely.
Great. Well, let me know how you get on with it.
I will, absolutely.
hmm
Anyway, Julie, it's
hmm
been an absolute delight and joy to have you on the show. Thank you
Oh, thank you.
very much. I'm curious if anyone is interested to find out more about what you do, what would be the best place to get some more information?
Yeah, I mean, they can just email me at julie@thriverhive.com. My
Okay.
website is in construction at the moment, but it is thriverhive.com.
Okay.
There's a sort of landing page there, and there's some meditation downloads on there that they can have as well if they wanted.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And
hmm
I can put that up with the flyer after the show. I'm just wondering, just for the last minute or two, I'm just going to invite if any
hmm
listeners might like to ask a question or say something, now would be the time. If anyone would like to say hi to Julie, and it's okay if not, then I can just finish up the recording and then we'll just have a quick chat off the record. But would anyone like
Okay.
to say anything to Julie? Okay, okay. Guess not.
All
Okay, Julie.
quiet.
All quiet. Well, there's
All quiet.
been a lot to consider, a lot of profound questions, thinking, and you've been speaking about some very difficult experiences so
hmm
beautifully and with such care. Just really want to thank you for that.
Oh, thank you very much for having me on your show. It's been brilliant. Really nice chat.
It has, and I appreciate your patience because I've not been feeling too well, so I'm not 100% this evening.
Oh, I hope you get better soon.
Thank you, lovely. So I will just officially end the show, and then we'll chat off the record in 2 seconds. Okay.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Well, dear hearts, this we've come to the end of another phenomenal show, and Julie was just such a wonderful person to spend some time with this evening. And I look forward to hopefully you joining us in again next week. Much love, everybody. Bye bye.